Well, a very good afternoon. Welcome to Puerto Portals, the second day of the Puerto Portals 52 Super Series sailing week here in Mallorca. It is still very hot. It's 35 degrees on the water once again, same as it was yesterday. And correspondingly, the sea breeze is still pretty light, about 8 knots on the water just now, blowing from 195 degrees. And we have a windward mark set at 1.7 miles from the start line. So conditions very similar to yesterday. Yesterday was pretty tricky, pretty streaky breeze. First race, it was the left side that paid. Second race, the right side paid. And let's see whether that plays out similar at all today. It is just on 1 minute and 40 seconds before the start line. Let's have a very quick look. Let's have a quick look at the standings as they are after two races. Well, Phoenix. We're having a quick look at the projected results for today, which would be great if we could also do the lottery results. But the standings just now is showing that Phoenix started well yesterday with a first and a third, so 4 points for them. Second, Sled also on 4 points. They had two second places. And yesterday we saw the first win of the season. Indeed, since Interlodge took on the former Azura, their first race win, which is paired to a fourth. That gives them third place overall for 5 points. Not such a brilliant day for the platoon team with a fifth and a fourth for 9 points. Provezza third and eighth. Started well in that first race. Dropped to one place in the latter stages of the race, losing out to Sled, but Provezza in fifth place overall. Gladiator pretty solid with 7 and a 5 yesterday for sixth. Allegra and Quantum really didn't have the opening that they wanted. A 6 and a 7 for Allegra, and Quantum Racing then in eighth with an 8 and 6 yesterday. So we're looking at the start now. We're seeing Provezza towards the pin end of the start line. We have only 15 seconds or so to go before the start. A little bit of a ragged start, but the look of things on our tracking just now. Provezza and Vayu pitching for the left end of the line, for the pin end of the line. Provezza very bow down and accelerating at 3 seconds before the start. Vayu make a nice start. Top end of the line. Sled once again starting at the committee boat. That's been their favoured end yesterday. Phoenix up there as well. Phoenix starting well, really getting bow out straight away off the line. Tony Norris steering the Phoenix still. Allegra, not bad. They are 3 places down from the committee boat end of the line. Quantum, a better start for them as well. Though starting was not really their problem yesterday. But they're certainly bow forward on Allegra just now. Platoon not so good, likewise Gladiator. Provezza building speed and clearly banking on the left, coming good. They started well yesterday. They were up in the top 2, top 3 round the top mark first time out yesterday. So the early signs for Quantum are a little bit better. They're in fourth and going quite well. So as I said, a little bit of disappointment in the Quantum camp yesterday afternoon when they came ashore. So they've had a little bit of a debrief, but just going to keep doing what they do well. And certainly seems to be reasonably well positioned just now, though Allegra moving forward on them very, very slightly. Let's see what Sled do now. Sled, I think, for our furthest right boat. Yesterday there was more pressure early on the beat on the right side, if you remember. Hence the reason that Phoenix and Sled in particular have chosen that side. And you'll remember that it was attack to the right that really gave Phoenix the early lead yesterday. Didn't have the best of starts. They took 3 or 4 sterns from what I remember. But Phoenix there going well, actually rising up to Sled's line very, very slightly from what we can see. Allegri going better. Interesting to hear from Tom Slingsby yesterday that Phoenix have replaced their keel fin, gone back to the original keel fin they had last year. And they feel they have their upwind speed, which was one of their strong points last year. They appear to have that back. So value, not a good day yesterday, but and not a brilliant start, but certainly strategy for Nick Rogers is to get out to the right. They seem to be doing that quite nicely. Not such a strong opening from Interlodge either. So as ever, any questions, do post them on our social media channels. First great question coming in today from the Happy Days 72, asking if I got a good night's sleep. And you'll be pleased to know that I did. Apparently I was doing a little bit of yawning yesterday, but I would contend that I was just breathing heavily with the excitement. Anyway, here we go. Phoenix leading as they did at this point yesterday. Also good to note that we're going pretty much close to time. We were supposed to start round about 1 o'clock, so a small delay. So overall pretty even though between the right and the left. I think probably the pressure's on the right. Phoenix for sure for slightly higher and quicker. Allegri very much in the mix this time, got off the line nicely. Platoon really not firing so far this regatta. Fairly modest start for them. They're just alongside Quantum. Quantum have them under their control for the meantime. However, Platoon sticking with it just now. Provezza, if anything, slightly bow down on this left side. Hamish, Pepper and working with Colaparada, who of course was for many years strategist on Azura, and this was as much as anywhere Azura's home waters. And Francesco Bruni telling me yesterday they've made some small changes to the way they've set up the rig on the sled, and they have some new sails. He feels they're going quicker again. And certainly some evidence to suggest that is indeed the case. Working well with Murray Jones, enjoying the experience very much, is Francesco. So Provezza coming back from that left side. Interesting then, we're seeing something similar to yesterday. Perhaps just a little bit more pressure on that right side. It's working for Sled at the moment. Whereas Phoenix, I think, have gone back to stay with the pack. But then watch Provezza's line out on that left side. And watch how their bow is coming up and they are lifting on port, which is very much a classical Palma situation. They've gone from 5th to 3rd. Now sled are on the very opposite flank. Vayu have gone from the pin end out to the right and are now coming back. Just for me, just finding themselves a little bit in no man's land. Meantime, out on the furthest left now is Platoon. So interesting then. Let's watch how sled progress. They are invested, heavily invested in that right, broken away, big lateral separation from the fleet. Phoenix really going quite nicely. Percentage sailing from Tom Slingsby and Cameron Dunn on the Phoenix, just staying with the fleet. And for sure, I think they have a certain confidence in their upwind boat speed. So this is looking like it's going to be a very interesting approach, or certainly the top third of the beat. It's going to be fascinating to see whether sled can hold on out there, what they get when they come back on starboard. Correspondingly, with the Privetza roll progressively over Allegri. So again, this is not atypical of Palma, where you're now starting to see sled knocking, heading out on that right side. But that can be good when they come back on starboard. But that advantage line for sled over Phoenix is dropping very steadily, just gone down to 5 or 6 meters. But great racing, you know, it's still pretty light and will continue to be so probably for tomorrow as well. But this is intense tactical racing. It's all about getting good starts and really picking the right side of the upwinds. So Phoenix are our new leader, plus or minus Allegri perhaps. It's going to be all about the ley lines now, picking the most accurate, tightest ley line, giving nothing away. Remember, we saw that great mark rounding yesterday with 3 boats overlapped. We had Phoenix on the inside, Platoon and Quantum all going round the top mark together. And Phoenix got through, which from memory got them from 6th to 3rd. So things not looking quite as good, quite as rosy for the sled in that header. Whereas, as usual on the Palma track, the left side strengthening as you get towards the top mark. So Phoenix really needing to have the most accurate, tightest ley line possible to get to the mark first. You have Allegra just inside them, almost overlapped. But interesting again, seeing that, remember we said Interlodge did not get the best start at all, but they have managed to get up to 5th. Gladiator going well on the left side. They were one of the furthest left boats and profiting all the time coming in from this left side. Now, as you can see then, Allegra just deciding they would not get into Phoenix before the protector mark. We don't have that on the tracking. The boats which are now furthest left are ending up overstanding for the protector mark. That's a little mark which is just downwind, which stops boats coming straight in on the port tack ley line and tacking at the mark, which has proven dangerous in this fleet in the past. So wind now is at 190, between 190 and 195. We have 11 knots, so that's very, very encouraging, and it's also good news for the Phoenix team, who are round in first, as they were race 1 yesterday. Allegra round second. Provezza third. Interlodge up to 4th. Gladiator 5th. Vayu pretty solid in 6th really. Sledder ending up with a 7th place coming around the top mark. Platoon 8th, and Quantum Racing going round in 9th. So a little bit of deja vu then. Repeat performance from Phoenix just now compared with yesterday. Fortunately not the case for the Allegra. Allegra up there in second. Going very much better today. So straight line downwind at the moment, no need nor option to jibe off. I think though we're on day 2 here, this is very much moving towards what you might call the exact midpoint, the equator of the 2022 season. And who would have thought that Quantum Racing, after winning 2 regattas, coming here with the momentum, would be struggling a little bit. Correspondingly also Platoon, who are lying second, not having their best regatta so far. It's going to be interesting. Will this regatta prove to be pivotal for the season, or will this just be a little bump in the road? So a little bit more wind pressure than yesterday then. We had 7 or 8 knots at this point. We've got 11 just now. Let's hope that the breeze does build in the afternoon, but everything looking rosy on board the Phoenix. Yeah, that again slightly similar to yesterday, where we saw a little bit of a split in the fleet. You know, we saw the top 3 boats, or sometimes the top 4, managing to get away and create a little bit of a gap between them. But and so once again this time there's just about 100 meters or so between Provezza and Interlodge. So Quantum chasing hard there in 9th. Really, as ever, it's going to be about picking off boats, chipping away, as they are fond of saying, no matter where you are in the fleet. But of course, big picture, if you like, it's great to see different teams having their day. And I don't mean teams going out and winning. It's good to see Provezza in the podium positions, sailing better, feeling better, more motivated. Similarly, Interlodge had a pretty modest regatta in Cascais. But up there in third with Cameron Appleton calling tactics, and Gladiator going quite well. And a split just now with Gladiator in fifth, moving to the left along with Prevezza. Let's watch the angles just now between Prevezza and Allegra. Allegra obviously just not long out of their jibe, but Prevezza seemed to be a little bit more bow down and pointing more directly to the mark, and correspondingly I think that's possibly the same with Gladiator and Interlodge. So just watching that, yeah. Prevezza and Interlodge and Allegra, I think, closing up very slightly. Difference being Prevezza, I think, will probably still have a jibe to do. So if you just joined us, we're on the first run, race 3, first race today, day 2 of the Puerto Portals 52 Super Series sailing week. Phoenix, the regatta leaders, are leading just now, over 100 metres clear of Allegra. It's not often you see both Platoon and Quantum near the back of the fleet. And it will be Phoenix then leading through the leeward gate, going to the right hand mark, looking upwind. As I said, looking very much like Prevezza will have to do a jibing in. Allegra not so, or they will actually, they're going to the left hand mark. Allegra's navigator this year is Francesco Mongelli, fitting nicely into the afterguard of Nick Asher and Ado Stead. So they're round in second. Prevezza 40 seconds or so behind the leaders Phoenix, going round the right hand mark. Interlodge pretty much going round the same time on the left hand mark. Sled seemed to have a decent run, but Gladiator will get mark room, I think, on that right-hand mark. Sled will have to go round the outside of them. Meantime, Platoon getting round the left mark. So actually, possibly Platoon pulling back a place on that mark rounding. Will depend very much what happens on this upwind. Correspondingly, let's watch Interlodge and Preveza. So at the start of the second upwind. Interesting, I wonder whether Sled have a problem. Sled appear to be going, carrying on downwind there. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, we should have learned from yesterday that Sled's tracker is a little bit variable, as happens here. It's a particularly difficult area for the network coverage, as this particular race area is between two masts and the signal bounces from one mast to the other. But nonetheless, we're seeing Interlodge potentially ahead of Preveza now. Interlodge staying left from the left-hand mark, Preveza going right. So all these little battles going on all the way down through the fleet, these little duels. We saw Sled and Gladiator, Sled moving through Gladiator. So still close really between Preveza and Interlodge. This one will only once again play out on the second half of the upwind when the left comes in, or not, as the case may be. But everything comfortable, everything good for Phoenix just now. Allegra too have got a gap. Yeah, Allegra over 100 metres clear, so you'd like to think that the first two in this sea breeze condition should have a certain confidence, but place is changing all the time between Interlodge and Preveza. Sled and Platoon on the left. Interesting, Platoon then choosing to come back, staying in phase with the Interlodge. Sled going a little bit further. So sled for sure a steady recovery really. They were 7th at the top mark first time up. They're now up to 5th. And actually coming back at Interlodge and sled just now. Sled certainly closing on Interlodge in the port tack lift. Now what will Interlodge do? I think Interlodge will probably tack in their face. And there we go. Austin Fragaman certainly enjoyed yesterday. And I think he'll enjoy having put sled about and sending them back out to the left. Not sure whether sled will lose too much out of that. But certainly Interlodge protecting their position, if losing touch a little bit with Preveza. Nevertheless, it's about consistency all the time, isn't it? Interlodge's objective really is remaining consistent, keeping it relatively low risk, and consolidating on their 3rd place, which they should be able to do in this race with that 4th. Preveza actually have done quite nicely up the right side. We were just talking about deja vu from yesterday. Well, Phoenix doing very much the same as they did yesterday. In fact, their margin, within 10-15 metres of what they had at the same point yesterday. Difference then being, of course, 2nd place was sled, but also similar to yesterday as Preveza were in 3rd at this point yesterday, or thereabouts, and finished 3rd across the finish line. So to Interlodge were 4th at this point yesterday, and 4th through the finish line. So something of a repeat. And unfortunately, I don't need to remind the Quantum team that they started with an 8th yesterday, and they're presently 8th. So the duel, such as it is, between sled and Interlodge, well, Interlodge really are quite strong just now and able to protect. The breeze appears to be very slightly further left. Just getting the information from the race committee boat. It's 185 to 190 up the track, still at 11 knots. If anything, Phoenix opened out a few more metres on Allegra, but it's largely academic. They have a comfortable cushion. So Phoenix round the top mark, second time, leading by just over 100 metres from Allegra. Second round Allegra, third is Interlodge. Interlodge have a little bit of distance on Prevets as they come round. Sled in fifth. Sled will lose points on Phoenix. Phoenix will step clear at the top of the table. Sled Gladiator in sixth, having lost Sled on that last round. Quantum Racing up to seventh and ahead of Platoon. That will certainly irk the Platoon team. And Vayu around in ninth. And of course, by comparison, no significant changes on board the Platoon team. They're just not having a good regatta so far, whereas of course the challenge for the Quantum team is missing Doug DeVos on the helm and changes in the afterguard, and these things always take a little bit of time to bed in, especially in a fleet of this high caliber. And once again, it's a straight follow my leader down this run. I'd imagine Phoenix will be the first to jibe off. Allegra, Solid, Interlodge have about 2 boat lengths, 2.5 boat lengths ahead of Preveza. Preveza will be disappointed to have lost Interlodge, but correspondingly Interlodge will strengthen their position in third. Yes. So indeed, if positions stay the same just now, actually Interlodge in third would go to second overall. Sled with 4 and 5, or 4 points going into today, plus 5 just now would give them 9 points. Interlodge 5 points going into today, plus 3 would give them 8. So there you go. Our Swiss expert on the sums, doing them rapidly. Phoenix would be on 5, Interlodge on 8, Sled on 9, Preveza tied on 15 with Allegra Platoon, 17 Gladiator, 18 Quantum, 21 and Vayu 27. So nice dynamic scoreboard, lots of things up for grabs, changing all the time, and Phoenix for sure strengthening their overall regatta lead, and indeed have pulled out another 10-15 metres on Allegra. So indeed, any questions, do post them on our social media channels there, on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Let's see what you can come up with. So Phoenix, a very strong team in their own right, but it's not a team composed of big rock stars, really. As I said a few times, still a strong South African team. At heart, guys like Paul Wilcox on the main, Sean Paminter on the pumps, the grinder. Big rugby player is Sean. He played in England for a few seasons down. Then downwind trimmer is Lorenzo Mazza. And North Sails, Shane Elliott is the navigator. So they're doing a pretty good job. Juanpa Marcus on the bow. Interlodge, as we said, likely to take over second place. unless Sled can somehow get themselves through the Preveza, but and a small gain just now we're seeing from Allegra, but Interlodge team is run very much by Chris Matthews, who's in the pit. Dave Armitage is one of the trimmers. And the afterguard is very strong. Cameron Appleton on tactics for this regatta. Michael Menninger on strategy. And Juan Villa, America's Cup winner and Volvo Ocean Race winning navigator. And a couple of very strong grinders, Tom O'Donnell from the States and Chris Brittle. And with Phoenix, of course, not forgetting Mark Sadler of North Sails, lives in Palma, ex-Shosholoza sailor. Actually, Preveza just losing out to Sled, as we predicted might happen, or there was a potential for that. Preveza coming back at Sled. So this might be just what the Sled team need to be tied on points with Interlodge after this race. Sled coming down with some speed. Still close, so unfortunately the Sled tracker is a little bit stop-start. So Preveza seeming to hang in there, but it's all about getting to the finish line ahead. If anything, Interlodge might have closed down Allegra just slightly, and Allegra have pulled back quite a lot on Phoenix, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Runway is running out. So looking very much like it will be a second race win for South African flag team Phoenix, a Plattner family team. We were hoping to have Hasso Plattner here this week, but unfortunately events conspired against Hasso. Hopefully he's watching this from home and in good health now. And a win then for Plattner family team on Phoenix, extending their lead. They were tied on points, 4 points apiece with Sled. Allegra coming through. Allegra were 7th overall yesterday on 13 points. They will now be on 15. Interlodge getting through with third. It's all about Sled staying ahead of Preveza through the finish line. Sled can get through ahead of Preveza, which is looking quite likely just now. And then they will be, I think, holding on to second just. Albeit tied with the Interlodge, both on 8 points. So Sled, the 2021 champions, the overall champions from last year, title holders coming through in fourth. They were 7th at the top mark. So a good recovery from Takashi Akura's team. Unfortunately not reflected for Quantum. Quantum not able to make that kind of recovery. Coming through after Preveza and Gladiator for a 7th place. And Vayu getting another 9th. So difficult, challenging conditions for the tacticians, strategists on the water. Not quite as streaky, I think, as yesterday. A little bit more wind strength with 11 knots. But a good win for the Phoenix team. Solid result for Allegra after a modest start yesterday, lying in 7th place. Sled's recovery, as I say, leaves them tied on points now with Interlodge tussling over 2nd and 3rd. So that is race 3 of our, what we hope will be a 10 race series here, finishing on Tuesday. And we're at the midpoint of the season. Anyway, good win for Phoenix. They're now on 5 points. Interlodge, as you see, on 8 points. Sled on 8 points. Allegra moving up to 4th on 15 points. Preveza losing that place down that run costs them their chance of 4th. Now in 5th, Platoon in 6th, Gladiator in 7th. Only a point behind Platoon. Quantum Racing on 21 points and Vayu 27. So fascinating leaderboard, and join us again for race 4, which should roll in fairly quickly. Join us in a few minutes. So welcome back. We are going into race number 4, second race of the day. Breeze has dropped very slightly, 8 to 9 knots I believe on the start line for this race. We've just 1 minute and 20 seconds to go before the start. We're going to have a very quick look at the regatta leaderboard after 3 races. And we know that Phoenix are on top, leading by 3 points now thanks to that 4th place for Sled and 3rd for Interlodge in that last race. Say Phoenix now 3 points ahead, Interlodge and Sled tied on 8, Allegra up to 4th now in 15, 1 point up ahead of Prevezza, Platoon in 6th, 17, 18 points for Gladiator, 21 for Quantum and 27 for Vayu. So let's look at the race course now at the start line, and we're seeing it 35 seconds or so to go. We're seeing Vayu down on the left side of the group. They've started off the pin previously. Platoon more to that left side this time than the last start. Once again though, seeing Phoenix and Quantum up towards the right end of the line along with Sled. Sled started off the committee boat in the last race. The right didn't really work for them. However, that's where the cluster is, that's where the main grouping is. As the start gun goes, Quantum off the line well. Much better start. Phoenix not so good this time. Sled driving away, if anything. Looking a bit like Phoenix having to come back and restart now. This is drama for you. Phoenix over the start line. Having to restart. I think possibly pushed over by Allegra in the final seconds, but for sure that's costing Phoenix just when they needed to have a solid start. Over the line, pushing too hard. And Quantum getting away nicely. Prevezza best. I think 3 boats up from the pinmost boat. Prevezza coming away off the line with a lead of 10 or 12 metres, 15 metres or so from Quantum. Racing Platoon slightly better off the line, but they are to leeward and having to separate away from Prevezza. So hard one for the Phoenix fans. Just when they had earned themselves a lead, end up being over the start line and having to fight back from 9th. So let's see what they can do. Backs against the wall now then for the Phoenix team. Sled good off the line, Quantum good off the line. But it is Prevezza leading. Allegra not quite so good, they're in 6th just now. It's interesting. Sled once again starting near the committee boat end of the line, nicely positioned compared to the group to leeward off them. But we did see the left come in strong on the last race. That's when they lost out initially. Then they did make a decent recovery from, I think they were 7th at the top mark first time up, having started off the committee boat end of the line. So let's see how they do. Quantum definitely with a decent lane. Now clear of Interlodge and clear of Sled. But Provezza are your early leaders. Platoon also better off the start line, going well just now. But Allegra in the depths of the pack just now in 8th. So will this play out the same as the previous race with a strong left? Or might there be something on the right for Phoenix? And indeed Gladiator, who've invested over there. Well, Phoenix were of course pushed out that side, they didn't have too many options. Allegra, I think, ending up in the traffic and having to work out to that side as well. Things change on this race course so rapidly. It's interesting then, we're seeing Platoon and Provezza, the two Vrolic boats side by side, furthest out to the left and heading, if anything. How true it really is. But Platoon and Provezza have got two of the strongest local experts on board. Provezza with Nacho Postigo as navigator and Jordi Calafat on the Platoon. Platoon really do need to get themselves into the podium positions in this race. Restore a little bit of harmony. On board the Platoon, but it's close just now. Certainly the left looking strong for Platoon. And they will cross Provezza. Quantum Racing is slightly more reserved in the middle of the course, but they are still second to Platoon. Platoon bounced back, or choosing to go back. So as Platoon go back to the left, I think they're just clearing themselves on Provezza. Meantime, in the middle of the course, Quantum are the leaders currently. Let's watch and see how Platoon and Quantum fare. Platoon in a big lefty. Just sailing quite high relative to the boats below them. So no way back just now for Phoenix. They're pinned out on the right, lost out on the prime option coming up this first beat. So looking good just now for Quantum. In terms of relative angle with Platoon sailing slightly higher on that left side. Quantum in a position where they have options. Meantime, Sled doing turns, you can see that. Not quite sure what happened immediately, but has cost them, and they're dropped down to 8th in the meantime. So Quantum Racing then and Platoon 7th and 8th in the last race, now 1st and 2nd in this race. Privet's ended up with a 5th from that last race, having been 3rd at the first windward mark. So Quantum then coming back on starboard at Platoon and Privetza. It's really still going to be quite close, I think. What they elect to do, but so that costing Sled a lot of distance. And yeah, Platoon sailing higher will cross Quantum Privetza, meantime ducking behind Quantum. So it's Platoon, Quantum, Privetza, Interlodge up there once again. Bayou in the mix this time in 5th. Nothing in it between Bayou and Allegra. Bayou middle right, Allegra to weather of them, pretty much dragging out towards the starboard tack ley line. So the breeze seems to be up and down a little bit, looking at Platoon's track. And something of a header, I think, for Privetza and Allegra. Phoenix coming back on starboard. So in the end, I think this breeze a little more even as we approach the top mark. Not quite so pronounced to the gain on the left side. Still certainly favoured, but value passing Interlodge. So looking very much like Harmuller Spears' team, Platoon will be first at this top mark. First time they've led round a windward mark at this regatta. Quantum will be second, I think. Platoon on to or just above the starboard ley line. Probably quite close between Interlodge and Provezza. Provezza have the starboard tack advantage at the moment. Interlodge would probably be ahead, but in the end Cameron Appleton suggesting they play it safe and tuck in behind Provezza. So we're at the top mark then. So first round then, Platoon. Second, Quantum Racing. Third, Provezza. Provezza having a better day. Interlodge really consistent so far this regatta. 4-1-3 coming round this top mark in fourth. Sled seemed to have done quite well considering they did turns. Fifth round, Allegri and Di Soriano's team. Sixth, Sled. Seventh, Value. Eighth, I think, will be Phoenix, and ninth, probably Gladiator. So Phoenix have got that one place back. Gladiator in ninth just now. So once again, slightly one-sided run. Right side downwind still seems to be the only way down this run. Just not uncommon here. It's certainly good to see Harmler-Spreer's team out in front. Twice world champions and winners here, I think in 2019 when the World Championships were here. Sled won here last year. Preveza won here in 2017. So 2019 regatta was not a great one for Quantum. Very up and down, finished 6th. Platoon won then by 2 points from Azura. So this will change the leaderboard substantially. Phoenix have a mountain to climb. Quantum won here in 2018 by 3 points ahead of Azura. Platoon were 3rd. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the first year of the Phoenix program. So there's your projected results just now. Interlodge would potentially take over the lead. Who would have thought of that? Second, Phoenix by a point. Third would be Sled, then Platoon. Quantum would be better off. Anyway, that's if things stand the way they are. Phoenix, if they want to hold on to the regatta lead, need a point, need a place. Their targets are Vayu, who are about 70 metres ahead just now. We're on the first downwind off the race. Platoon and Quantum have jibed. Preveza going on just a little bit further. So Vayu have jibed. Phoenix carrying on. They say that was the projected points standing if position stayed the same. Interlodge, of course, are in 5th just now. Could get through Allegra and extend their lead. But of course, in this weight of breeze on this kind of racetrack, there's no big gains to be made the same way that we saw in the breezy races in Cascais, for example. And there are no easy passes in this fleet now, not at all. Especially on this kind of race course. Interesting, I was just looking, but I think it's, I am sure that Azura won here, I just don't remember what year it was. This was the home of Azura, the boat was kept here. But actually Quantum have won here twice since 2018. Yeah, I'm right. 2015 World Championships here. Azura won. And it was the regatta which really set up their circuit win that year. They won by 14 points. 2015, of course, was a year that we had 9 new build boats. Very nice tussle, nice battle just now. Drag race between the boat we're just talking about now, Interlodge, previously Azura and Provezza. Bayou still holding off Phoenix. So Platoon coming through the leeward gate with a lead of 120, 130 metres, something like that. Over Quantum Racing, they're big arch rivals now. And going down that left-hand mark, looking upwind. And as I said, it's going to be close between the Interlodge and Provezza. I think Interlodge probably going to get that to that right-hand mark first. Provezza putting the handbrake on and going round the left-hand mark. Interlodge just pipped them round the gate, but pretty much tied. Yeah, just 1 second in it according to our timing. Interesting then, Provezza getting the left hand side. Allegra and Sled very close together as they come through. Phoenix still behind Bayou. Bayou coming in nicely to the right hand mark, looking upwind. So Phoenix round in 8th. And Gladiator in 9th. So we're starting the second beat. Race 4, second race of the day. Breeze 8 to 9 knots. Platoon sailing up that left side. So platoon then carrying on, pushing out to this left side with the Privetsa in pursuit on the same line as indeed our Phoenix. All starting to look quite solid, certainly between the top two, and Interlodge and Privetsa still only 30 or 40 metres apart. That would be your obvious potential change. You would imagine as we get up this beat, then Privetsa would be in position to make a gain relative to Interlodge, according to the conventional logic on this Palma racetrack. But the cue, the signal that the left-hander comes in is would be platoon's bow going down up in front. But it all seems quite settled just now. So Sled battling back after that penalty turn. So this timing of this regatta really sandwiched between other major events. And this is the timing that works best for the circuit and for the sailors and for the owners, as the following week, end of next week, is Copa del Rey. And so the circuit didn't really want to have the 52s racing directly into the start of Copa del Rey. Teams do want to do it. I don't think there's many considering doing Copa del Rey. I didn't want to have them racing back to back straight into the regatta. Hence the timing, hence we start on a Friday, finish on a Tuesday. It's all very novel. Normally at this point on the Saturday we're watching the concluding races. So platoon then, Jordi Calafat and John Costecchi keeping a loose cover on the Quantum, keeping Quantum to leeward, just tracking them. At the same time, interesting, let's watch Interlodge appear to have actually made something of a gain. Relative to Provezza, and looks like Sled might also be through Provezza. Things changing. Actually, Vayu are quite close with Allegra as well. Very close with Allegra, and indeed Allegra just ducking behind the Vayu. Nice gain for the Whitcraft family. Tough start to the regatta with 3 back-to-back 9th places. So getting through Allegra will please them just now. Correspondingly, I don't think it'll be pleasing the Provezza that they're dropping to 5th. Once again though, they were good early on, you know, top 3 round the top mark and losing a couple of places here and there. But absolute kudos to the Interlodge team. Very much the dark horses coming here. But a quick boat in its previous life, and clearly still a quick enough boat. I've been saying that they were 8th in Cascais. Best race result was a 4th in the last race. But otherwise it was a tough World Championship for Interlodge. But they have Sled just behind them. Watching Sled converging once again with Provezza. Vayu crossing Allegra. And interestingly enough, we're now seeing Gladiator through Phoenix. Sled having made a couple of places back after their turns. A good lead now for Platoon, for Harmuller Spear's team. So approaching this windward mark, I wonder whether our Geo Racing guys could show us the projected points table if things stand as they are, things stay as they are. How would the points be looking at the end of today? Well, there you go. Still would see Interlodge leading from Sled, with Phoenix dropping to third, Platoon up to fourth, Preveza fifth, but I don't think you would have had many teams or many observers predicting Interlodge being on top of the table after day two, but all credit to them. A team which puts in a lot of work and do a lot of sailing at home in Newport. But it's changing all the time. Phoenix and Sled just now locked on 1 point behind, 12 points and 12 points. So say that is the projected standings if things stay the same, but it shows you just how close it is. A point gain for Sled, a point gain for Phoenix, or a point loss for Interlodge, and everything could change. We could see them all three coming in tied on points, but it's super close at the top of the table. Meantime then, Platoon leading the conclusion of this upwind, second race of the day. Harmuller Speer, the German owner-driver, steering Platoon round the top mark. For those of you who like to follow these things, owner-driver on Platoon. Terry Hutchison steering the Quantum this week. I gather Austin Fragaman is steering the Interlodge. Owner-driver on Sled, Mr. Akura. Pro-driver on Preveza, John Cutler. I'm not exactly sure on the ruling on Vayu, but Vayu is an owner-driver and a family member, Don Whitcraft. Windward mark last time up was Platoon Quantum Preveza Interlodge. Now it's Platoon Quantum Racing Interlodge Sled. Vayu round next in sixth. And it is certainly close between Allegre, Gladiator and Phoenix. So all on between these three boats as well down the final run. Allegre fifth at the top mark, first time up, now down in seventh. Phoenix 8th and Gladiator 9th. So big lead then for the platoon for Harmuller Spears team, getting their programme back on the rails really after a modest start to the regatta. So to Quantum Racing, might be a few more smiles on board the circuit leading boat when they come ashore. But for sure I can imagine big smiles on the Interlodge. And certainly credit to Cameron Appleton. You always have these little backstories, and of course Cameron sailed with the Quantum for a season, I think 2 seasons, and I'm sure he'll take some pride in the job he's done so far with Interlodge. Obviously a strong team round about him, but they're certainly in the podium positions just now. Not finished worse than 4th. Sled potentially going 2-2-4-4. But a big shocker then for the Phoenix. Phoenix 1-3-1, 8th just now. So platoon 4th was their best score so far this regatta. 5.48. Almost certainly going to get through this finish line and take the second winning gun of the day. And Quantum Racing, remarkably, their best score from the 3 races so far was a 6th. But here they are with a good second. They were ahead of Platoon at one point in the first beat, but it was Platoon which got round that top mark in first. From memory, I think Platoon starting 2 boats up from the pin end, getting out to the left early. And pleasingly, pretty much nicely up to schedule today after the delayed yesterday. It's 20 to 4 local time as we're heading down this final run, second race of the day. As ever, any questions, stick them on the social media channels, and if I can't answer them, I'll have them for you in tomorrow's live program. Just post them on Instagram, on Twitter, on our YouTube channel, which has got a good following. So Platoon just counting down the seconds through the finish line. Over 200 metres clear of Quantum into Lodge, hunting down Quantum as best they can. As I said, Sled probably not too disappointed with their day. They had a couple of errors, just that tactical choice on the first upwind. Race 1 was not their best. When the left paid, they found themselves on the right early on, or from the middle up, and that cost them a few places. And then that second race ending up doing penalty turns. So interesting then. Phoenix in 7th. Will end up on 12 points. Tied with the Sled for second, but I think the way things shaping up, it's looking very much like Austin and Gwen Fragaman's team from Newport, Rhode Island may indeed be our regatta leaders. But that's a pretty solid lead then for Platoon. So here we go then, one victory coming up for Platoon. So this is a nice morale booster for the Platoon team, as it will be for the Quantum team. There you go, race win then for Platoon. Quantum will be through in the next few seconds, and Interlodge in the end having the best day with a pair of thirds. So Interlodge coming through in third. Quick question from Bill Wingrove. Any plans for new builds at any time in the near future? Well, I know it's been considered, but I think on balance it's unlikely for a number of reasons. One of them being how hard it is to get hold of materials and build to a schedule. Indeed, you're right that Gladiator is the former Interlodge. Current Interlodge is the former Azura. And in fact, our newest boat in the fleet is on stocks at the moment. And it will be interesting to see what happens to Brunanasek. Provezza then coming through in fifth. Value breaking the run of sixth, or breaking the run of ninths with that sixth. Now Allegra in the end getting through Phoenix to take seventh, and I think that will drop Phoenix's potential tie with Sled. So Sled will be alone on second place, and I think Phoenix probably dropping to third, but we'll confirm that for you just in a few seconds when our mathematicians, the geeks on the Geo Racing squad, give us our final points tally for the day. So disappointment this time for Phoenix. That was a costly error. We'll have a look at the replays and see whether they were pressed over the line early. Seen it before with them here, indeed, on the Bay of Palma. They were pretty sure they had some early starts in this regatta last year. Very, very hard when it's so competitive, so tight in one part of the line as it was. Very easy to have somebody push you over the line in the final few seconds when you have to be so precise. So Gladiator then coming through in ninth. So confirmed from the race committee, boat Platoon, Quantum, Interlodge, Sled, Provezza, Vayu, Allegra, Phoenix and Gladiator. So there your points table now sees the boat from Rhode Island, from Newport, from the New York Yacht Club, Interlodge, also another New York Yacht Club boat, Sled, first and second. Phoenix dropping from the lead to third, albeit only 2 points behind, and a 5-point gap to Platoon. Now up to fourth, Provezza in fifth on 21 points. Allegra 6th on 22 points. Quantum Racing looking a little bit better now, up to 7th on 23 points. Gladiator in 8th on 27 points. Value 999 and 6th on 33 points. So every congratulations to the Interlodge team, leading the regatta after 4 races by a single point from Sled, who won here last year, and a pretty tough second race there for Phoenix with an 8th, dropping them to 3rd. So that's the podium positions after 4 races. Join us again tomorrow for more of the same, and let's see what happens tomorrow. Join us then. Thank you.